Lindsey Duncan is a chef and pastry chef, professional Celtic harp performer, and lifelong writer. And her short fiction and poetry has appeared in numerous speculative fiction publications. Her science fiction novel, Scylla and Charybdis, is available from Grimbold Books. She feels that music and language are inextricably linked. She lives in Cincinnati, Ohio. Lindsey, take it away.
This scene from Scylla and Charybdis is the day after Aenea's first conversation with Gideon. The habitats of the preserve dominated one of the largest open spaces on the station. Lush jungle crowded against open plain. Gray cliffs seemed to disappear into an invisible stratosphere above. Cloudy plastic alloy divided the ecosystems. The numerous animal species that populated the preserve had once run wild, and here had been their own small world. Aenea found Erythia by a reptile habitat. A six-limbed reptile from Perica eyed them glumly from the other side of the barrier. Aenea was surprised to see Penelope clinging to Erythia's shoulders. The curl's tail was tucked around her human's arm. She purred happily when she saw Aenea, pulling her owner's hair to get her attention. The genetically engineered beasts were the only pets on the station. Every other animal was a preserved specimen or food. Erythia swatted at the paws. "Penelope, would you?" She turned, beaming when she saw the reason for the creature's excitement. "Anne, good to see you. What's going on?" Aenea scritched the curl behind the ears. The creature cooed. "Can we talk?" "If we walk as we do it." Erythia waved for her to follow. "Is this about your mystery man?" "Even more mysterious than I thought." Aenea explained what he had said, keeping her voice low. They moved past habitats, including one that housed Earth zebras. Erythia whistled. "So, do you think he makes blood sacrifices and worships idols?" "Ori!" Aenea protested. The young woman giggled as she palmed them into the computer room, then sobered. "All this, and he wants to go home?" He seemed very sure. Aenea sat in the room's other chair as Erythia flipped out her kit. Like most programmers, she backed up the vocal commands with a spatial relay cube. Unlike most, she also had an old-fashioned keyboard. Aenea had always found it endearing and a little hypnotic. She enjoyed watching the flurry of Erythia's fingers. "How will that go, I wonder?" Erythia spoke half to herself. "I didn't think we let people do that." "We don't." Aenea jumped as Penelope hopped over and crawled onto her shoulder, burrowing against her neck. Erythia chewed her lip, anxious. "I can't imagine leaving Themyscira and never seeing it again. So how can I help?" "I need to meet with him again," Aenea said, stroking the curl. Penelope rubbed her side against the touch. "I know you were joking before." "I was," Erythia said, "but I can still bypass security for you. Let's check on him first, shall we?" Her hands flitted over the keys. She made a worried sound. "Aenea, they have your friend in for surgery. You didn't tell me he was that badly injured." "Surgery? What could have happened?" Confusion twisted at her. "He wasn't." Erythia frowned. "Let me tap in." Aenea knew she should have protested and couldn't, her mind twitching with scenarios that wouldn't have occurred to her a few days ago. She didn't want to consider them now, and it left her stomach sour. She stroked Penelope and felt the creature's hum through her hand. Curls had been engineered as companion animals, and the pattern of Penelope's breath soothed her, even though she half knew the science. "Ori," she said, "if this is risky, I don't want you to do it." Erythia paused, swiveling in her chair. Hazel eyes fixed on Aenea's face. "We've known each other forever, Anne. You've always had a steady head on your shoulders, better than mine. If you want to do something, I trust you." Aenea felt a twinge. They had split almost 3 years ago, not because of any lack of feeling, but due to a dozen small things that had been fine for friends, but awkward in a couple. She still half sensed the failing had been hers. "The record is blank," Erythia reported. "No procedure log. That means—" "I have no idea what that means. They're not supposed to do that." She flicked a pensive look sideways at Aenea. "Do you want to feed? Can you do that?" "No cameras in the chamber, and their links are bound to be off," Erythia said. "But some of the other equipment, I can extrapolate, at least with audio." She drew a puffy breath. "I haven't had this much of a challenge since I was first in training." Since she had been in training, and since she had astonished instructors 2 decades older than she, Aenea nodded, waiting in tense silence. She realized she was squeezing Penelope when the curl nibbled her hand in protest. "Not working, Dr. Braun." The voice that came through the speakers was thin and static-laden. "That's impossible," Alaska said. "The neural readings are incomprehensible." Erythia made a face. "I'm running it through an enhancement program." "Not a mistake." Tested and worked on others, Velasca snapped, which made it harder to discern the words. This shouldn't be happening. The facts are as they are, Velasca. The relay evened out as Thelestris's calm tone came through. For whatever reason, his memories are immutable. Arethea mouthed the word memories. Anea bit her lip, remembering part of her conversation with Thelestris. Technological advances, she had said, would make it possible for men to join Themysciran society. Gideon might be the first, as long as they didn't remember where they had come from. He's waking up, someone reported. Aenea's body went cold. Was it possible to remove an individual's memories? Who would allow it? The people she knew and looked up to were not capable of such a thing. Not possible, Velasca repeated. I confirmed the doses myself. Velasca, look at the brainwave readings. Cancel on hyperspace, Velasca swore. Oh, come on, tell us, Arethea said, or I'll have to hack the readings. Those are hypermental levels, another doctor said. Thank you, Arethea muttered. Despite the tension pouring through her, Anea had to fight the urge to smile. His shipboard records said nothing about this, Velasca said. Why would they send someone with his gifts out into the middle of nowhere? Does someone suspect? Easy, Velasca, Thelestris said. What do we do with him if this doesn't work? Velasca didn't hesitate. We have to. The voices cut out to the accompaniment of Arethea's typing. She jerked her hands back as if she had been burned. Security program was about to find us out, she said, her face pale and strained. Anea sat in silence, fingers clenched into the curl's fur. Penelope chittered, but did not otherwise protest. What would they do with him? And what were they destroying as they did it? Themyscira was a place of harmony, of finding the right path, and it left space for those like her who had yet to find theirs. She had to believe, if Gideon knew what he was talking about, that the doctors were unaware of the truth of his world. Thank you, Ori, Anea said, rising in a rush. She scooped Penelope onto the chair. I have to go before they make a mistake. Anne. Anea had reached the doorway, the scents of the preserve swirling around her, rich and earthy. She turned back to Arethea's strained face. Please stay, Arethea said. Just trust them. It had been a game to her minutes before, but now she looked frightened. Her hands twitched as if she wanted to grab Anea and hold her back, putting her whole body into it. Anea was acutely conscious this was the first important thing Arethea had asked of her in 3 years. The realization burned, but it had no chance of changing her mind, and that made her feel worse. Not only was she failing Arethea, she couldn't even try. I'm sorry, she said, and spun out the door.